Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and in this video I want to talk about Jupiter in Taurus. So the idea here is to kind of process through what I sense and perceive Jupiter in Taurus could be for us. Hopefully give us a perspective that you can use with this transit, and really connecting with the emotional experience. What is the evolutionary intention and potential that we can tap into with this transit? So this is my kind of like scope of the conversation today. There's actually quite a lot of things that I think we're going to get through. So I would say if you're going to digest this video and you're going to sit and watch it, give yourself some space so you can really pay attention, really can tune in to what I'm going to talk about. Often these videos can be very dense with a lot of information, and you really want to kind of soak it in this way. So as always, come back to this video consistently and listen to different segments as well. You'll probably get some new insights at different points. Okay, cool. So Jupiter in Taurus. I think before we get into the whole kind of conversation of the different things that I want to talk about with this transit, I want to acknowledge something here. So one of my goals that I want to achieve with this video with you is to kind of convey what the somatic experience could feel like for you. What is the part of this transit that you can take away feeling emotionally, being really in your body, really connect with it in a way that symbolizes less of the headiness, okay? Now, you've probably watched quite a lot of videos. There's a lot of information out there at the moment around different ways, different astrologers' perspective on this transit. And even when you're self-studying, you're going to have a lot of information that you've researched, you've read. You're naturally curious about this. And while this is not necessarily a problem, it does actually lead to what I think can be a lost opportunity when it comes to astrology. So let me explain what I mean by this, right? Because there is a saturation of information when it comes to learning astrology and listening to different perspectives, it can often be difficult to really connect with your own intuitive wisdom of what this transit is materializing and playing out for you personally. So my aim here is to really kind of bring a shift in way that we could utilize our understanding of astrology and bring it into a more visceral experience for you. Like what's really happening in a salient way in your life, right? What's alive for you right now? And how does this transit reflect the ongoing evolutionary path that you personally are on? In other words, like I said in the new moon in Taurus, we're all on this emotional arc that's going on like that, right? And we have unique stories in that context. When you're looking at the transit of Pluto, when you're looking at the transit of Mars, when you're looking at the transit of Jupiter, you always want to be correlating that back to your natal placement. In other words, for me, transit like natal Jupiter is in Sagittarius. Go figure, right? And so Jupiter in Taurus for me is naturally forming an inconjunct, right? That 150-degree angle to my natal Jupiter. So even though I can get a kind of generalization of what Jupiter and Taurus could be, I'm still going to miss out on the opportunity of what that potential inconjunct is going to do. Plus, I'm always being evolved through the context of my natal Jupiter. And the same goes for all transits. So like I said, I want to kind of really bring home a conversation today for you so that when you're processing this material, the perspective that you're holding is very much about, hey, this is my astrology chart, this is the transit, and making that correlation over there, right? That body and mind correlation. And hopefully by the end of it, allowing you to be more connected to your world, to your reality, and the emotional journey that you're on, right? So that's kind of the scope, that's kind of the goal that I want to do with you guys today. So let's get straight into this process. Okay. So as you can see, this is the current astrology chart of the day. And of course, the first thing we're going to be looking at is the point and purpose of this conversation. Today's title is Jupiter entering Taurus, conjunct the North Node, right? What does this mean for us? That's a good question. What does the North Node conjunct Jupiter in Taurus mean for us? So That's the first place that, of course, we're going to be wanting to address and acknowledge is what does this mean for us? And I'm definitely going to get into that for you. But we can also see something really interesting happening here. And it's very important, just like I said in the new moon in Taurus video. If you haven't watched that, make sure you check that video out as well. Like, the context of this Pluto in Aquarius in relation to the south and north node, where Jupiter's at, like, this is an important component. If you're not understanding this thing here, it doesn't matter how much understanding you have of this Jupiter north node transit, because like this Pluto square needs to be integrated. It needs to be, you know, brought into your analysis of your own understanding of what this Jupiter is about. But then look at this Mars, right? This Mars, and today the moon's there, but the Mars energy is also squaring the nodes. So if we really want to kind of set the stage for what Jupiter entering Taurus means, along with what Jupiter on the North Node means, we need to be paying attention to the supporting cast that is also playing a very important role. And in a very kind of Leonic way, you know, we really don't want to ignore the Mars and Leo piece, because, you know, we want to feel that, we want to give some appreciation and some love and some attention to Mars and Leo, right? It's demanding it of us almost. So there's something that's really important there. So this square, again, I'm highlighting as an important aspect. So that's where I'm actually going to start with this process, okay? So let's start off with the Pluto in Aquarius. Now, I talked earlier about where I said, okay, so we've probably got a lot of information around Pluto in Aquarius. Lots and lots of different perspectives. Pluto in Aquarius could mean this, could mean this, could mean this, okay? But for now, what I want you to do is kind of just really allow yourself to relax for a bit. So you need to really kind of relax into, you know, slowing down your mind, slowing down your awareness of like, oh, I want to know this information, I want to know this information. Notice the distractions around you. Again, that's what I'm saying. If you really want to take this video and make it impactful, you want to kind of give yourself space to explore experientially with me in this astrology. So we want to kind of get to a space, if you can, this is fantastic. If not, it's completely understandable. But you just kind of really come to a place within yourself and slow down, really, really slow down. Slow down, take your attention to be a little bit more slower, a little bit more present with where you're at right now. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, from this place, I want you to really feel the experience of a lot of things happening all at once, okay? So Aquarius is, hey, everything's becoming outdated. Everything's becoming outdated. Things are becoming redundant. I'm bored. I get into that feeling of, oh, I just wish I had something new to do. I'm very bored. Everything seems so boring at the moment. Everything seems so lack of life, I want to move out of this space. This is the place I want you to come to. I want you to come into this experience for yourself, right? Where you're feeling constricted in something. You're feeling boxed in somewhere. You're feeling that you want to expand in some way, right? But you can't. It's tight. Everything's feeling tighter around you. Now what I want you to do is I want you to feel into your world right now and ask and feel into and see, where is there constriction in my life? Where am I not happy with things that are working out, that I'm doing? Where am I feeling this limitation, you know? And so really pay attention to the kind of stress and the stimuli that's in your environment right now that's you know, I'm hemmed in here and I don't like it. I don't like to be in this box. I want to break out. I need to do something to change something, okay? Now, if you need to pause the video to kind of really connect with that space, cool. I'm going to move on now, okay? So now what I want you to do is, as you're acknowledging and feeling that limitation, or these pieces of limitation, I'm tired of doing this 9-to-5 job, or, you know, this routine that I have is not working for me, or where I'm living right now is not really working for me. I need something new. I need to feel. So whatever that is for you, right? I want you to really feel into what that restriction feels like. Allow it to somatically take over. Because often when we feel discomfort, when we feel the soul calling us or emotions calling us, we often put it aside because it threatens our security, right? It threatens it. So we kind of disassociate from it, or we numb out from it. But now what I want you to do is really feel that Pluto that's there, and it's saying, hey, come on. I want you to really confront this. I want you to change something that's really irritating you at the bottom within your life right now. Okay, we don't have to take action. Pluto's retrograde. We just want to allow ourselves to acknowledge that which is feeling hemmed in, constricted, liberated. Now with that space, with that energy, just hold it for now. Okay, just hold that space. All right, what is it telling you? And obviously that question is, I want you to explore there. I want you to sit with that space for it. I want you to cultivate that within yourself over the next 7 days. Okay, I really want you to cultivate that space. I want you to think about it more. I want you to feel more into that. I want you to consider that as important. Okay, so now that you've kind of allowed yourself to be present with that, and again, I am going a little bit further here in this process. I want you to really sit with that process, but for me, I'm going to move on, okay? So Pluto's sitting there, and now you've got this Jupiter on the north node in Taurus, and you've got this Scorpio on the south node there. Remember I said, if you really want to understand this Jupiter north node energy, right, Taurus energy, we need to understand the squares to the nodes that's taking place here. It's very important because that's the message. Whatever we're resolving here with this Pluto and this Mars, that's present for us and live for us right now, if we can get that context, you can do your Jupiter. So instead of me giving you a bunch of like descriptions, I want you to really connect with and feel where there's limitation within yourself right now, okay? Now, again, in evolutionary astrology, when there is a square to the node, like there is here, I explained this in the new moon video, okay, we need to look at a resolution point. Something needs to be resolved. And just briefly, the resolution is the south node. So those feelings, those things that we just kind of allowed to bubble up for us right now, that we acknowledged and recognized, right? The south node there at Scorpio 3 degrees is saying, okay, some way, some form, you need to confront it. You need to address this. You need to look at it and ask yourself, is this truly worth the commitment? Is the suffering really worth this? Okay. Now, because our experiences, for your experience that you're listening to right now, because it is so unique and so diverse, whatever that limitation is, you need to reflect on how possible it is for you to address that underlying attachment. What I mean by that is, if it's something like, you know, you're feeling hemmed in and stuck and you really want to change your work, don't go tomorrow and say, that's it, Simon told me to quit my job because I need to eliminate it. That takes a process. Like, you have to think to yourself, well, what is it that I can begin to change in my mindset that moves me forward outside of the space? Now, for a lot of us, that is a scary thing, because how many of you trust yourself? How many give yourself the opportunity to believe that you can go beyond, you know, your own security patterns and your attachments? So this aspect between Pluto in the south node, the north node, and Mars, it's not like little like, hey, this is how you solve it. Like, this is real, right? You really want to feel into, again, the south node question for yourself is, as you felt those feelings and those hemmed in things, you got angry with it, or you got frustrated, or all those feelings came up that is related to that stuckness, the south node is saying, okay, is this attachment worth the suffering? Is it worth still continuing to emotionally bond with, or merge with, or associate with this disempowering pattern? Okay, now in most cases the answer is no, it's not worth it. And I would really like to free myself. I'd really like to move beyond this comfort zone that I have, that has become a pattern of normalcy. What is changing within me? Okay, all right. Now, if we come back over to this Leo Mars that's sitting over here right now, right in opposition to Pluto, and it's been there for some time. So, you know, we've been feeling the feels with Pluto opposed Mars, and that's one of the reasons why there's a constriction, because part of you with this Mars opposed Pluto. Mars is activating this Pluto that's causing the limitation, the awareness. Mars is saying, okay, well, let's amplify this. Let's show you where your desire for something of liberation is present, but where your actions and your current state of choice making is leaving you still remaining in the pattern. Yeah? So the Mars is trying to point out to those of you that are feeling the limitation and you want the liberation. Mars is pointing it out. And Mars is in Leo. Okay? So the Mars in Leo is now resolving through the North Node. Okay, so Pluto was resolving through the South Node. Mars is resolving through the North Node. So how do we consciously work with this Mars resolving through the North Node, which, by the way, is actually squaring Jupiter, right? So you've got Mars squared Jupiter. And this energy over here, this energy that is present, this Mars resolving to the North Node, this is how it feels. It feels like, you know what? My life does have value. You know what? I am more than the choices I've made up until now. I do feel that I can acknowledge Leo and verify for myself and acknowledge, again, because really this Leo energy is acknowledgement. It's like you validate this experience. If you are feeling stuck, if those emotions come up and you're feeling this way, I want this Mars energy for you to allow you to step into it and say, you know what, this is real for me. This is true for me. I want to not continue on this pattern. So let that Leonic energy give fire and acknowledgement and appreciation to those emotions. Give appreciation to the feeling of stuckness. Allow it to be present and real for you. Okay? So feel into it and acknowledge it. If it's grief that you carry, allow the grief to be present. Allow it to come up. If it's a choice to let go of something that you know is bad for you, right? Let that Mars energy say to you, it's okay. Right? So you're approaching this new feeling with the acknowledgement that this is alive and real for you. You want to give fire to it. You want to say yes to it. Right? This is a new birthing process. Mars is the leading edge. So there's a polarity in your consciousness between, hey, this is the old me that feels stuck, limited, and loss of life. And here's the new me that wants the liberation and out of this process. And the square is, can I do this? Right? Can I take this step? Can I action it? And what I'm saying right now is that the first step is to allow yourself to acknowledge that what you want, this liberation, is real, it's alive, and you want to cultivate those feelings more. That's why I said over the next week, really allow yourself to process through what this stuckness is or what this limitation is. Right? What is it really telling you? Okay? And you do this by self-inquiry. Okay. So now when we go to Jupiter on the North Node, this Jupiter energy is actually kind of a little bit of a maverick over here. Jupiter comes onto the North Node. Now the Sagittarius energy, when you are running a Sagittarius relationship to the chart, in other words, when you're understanding Sagittarius in the chart, I want you to drop into the feeling of what freedom looks like in an unrestricted way. Like what is it like to live where your natural flow is just present with you? Now this is very difficult in a world that we live in, right? Because there's lots of laws, there's lots of regulations, there's lots of rules that you have to follow. And a lot of the time, there is a complex within us that forms where we separate from our bodies. We separate from our natural truth. We separate from what is organic for us. And we live in alignment with an adopted philosophy. We live in alignment with perspectives and truths that no longer resonate with the true, authentic feeling and expression within inside of yourself. So if I said to you, a North Star is there, right? Can you allow your like navigation system and your intuition to follow that North Star? Or do you have certain philosophical beliefs and truths that you've internalized, messages that say, no, I'm not worth it, I can't do it, it's not allowed? Or the ones that I was talking about earlier, which is if you feel into that space of that Pluto restriction, if I asked you to step out of it, can you do it? Can you take that leap of faith? Can you actually give yourself permission to allow what's authentic and real for you to be more present than, say, living an adopted philosophy that could potentially be the opposite of what's natural and real for you? So the question here that comes along with Jupiter on the North Node for us and for me and for you is, as we explore this, the framing that I want you to be in is, I have this limitation. I want to consistently keep asking myself if this limitation is worth it. Do I want to continue supporting this role? The Leo energy says, if the answer is no and I don't want to do this, acknowledge it, give it fire. Allow it to be present. Don't dismiss it, right? Allow it to come in. Feel accepting that as something that is trying to tell you something deeper. And when you do that process, the wisdom of the Jupiter and the North Node erupts. So it's like the agency of the North Node is not all of the definitions, but it's the permission to be yourself. Right? The permission to be yourself. So if you notice in the astrology chart, Jupiter actually squares Pluto. So it squares the Mars energy, it squares the Pluto energy. And what's the message there? It's both the empowered version, which is the permission to grow and expand and follow something that is organically your own truth, but is also at the same time to be very clear and acknowledge and embrace the hidden parts of yourself that you have had to hide, right? That you've had to reject, that you've had to put aside because of whatever reason. And that's led to certain patterns within your life that you know are inauthentic. So the empowered perspective over here is to do the emotional work around identifying which parts of yourself you haven't given permission to live, and the parts of yourself that are calling for your attention to say, this is what's true for me. This is the binary, this is the resolution, this is the stepping into the resolving of the squares to the nodes. That Saturn that sits there in Pisces, conjuncting that Mars energy, is it's like a trine. It's like it's allowing you, the Neptune there that's with that Mars. It's allowing you to animate that which has got the spirit within you, and it's also allowing you to acknowledge that which has lost the spirit. In other words, there's this binary again. The part of you that feels alive and is rich but maybe encased, and the part of you that is wanting to erupt into your new truth, right? And to give permission for that, and to allow for the decay of this old self. So say, hey, yeah, you were here. This is who I needed to be at the time. Give permission for it to end and to culminate, and to say thank you, and to let it go back into the cosmos. Let it go back into reality. And when you step into that space over there, these dynamics naturally resolve themselves. How does that feel for you? How do you feel when you allow yourself to embrace what I'm talking about right now, right? There's a capacity here that's awakening. Hopefully, like that's the goal at least. Okay, so on my notes, what I wanted to kind of bring through over here is, if you look on the chart, Mars is in Leo. The planetary ruler of Leo is Mercury. Sorry, not Mercury, it's the Sun. The Sun's in Gemini. The Sun is ruled by Mercury, which is conjunct the North Node. So the thing that I just wanted to show you here quickly is Mercury is the planet associated with the Sun, because Mercury rules Gemini. The Sun is associated with Mars because Leo is the Sun rules Leo. And what I wanted to say here is that this energy right now, it's a kind of like integration and the forward movement of this recent Mercury retrograde that we had. So just recently we had a Mercury retrograde. Now, if you look in the chart over the next month, we're going to be consistently integrating the insights that we've received during the Mercury retrograde experience. So this is kind of an actualization of the Mercury. And that's why I'm saying there's a message within you. It's dual. It's one that says, don't follow your truth, conform, stay to your, follow the truth that you were told, even if it's like a rejection of your authenticity. And the other says, come on, it's time to free us. It's time to go and to live more authentically, right? That's the duality and the voices over there. So which one are you going to listen to? Okay. So, like I said, how does this feel for you? Let me know in the comment section. Let me know how this is processed for you. I'd love to be able to get some feedback so I can see that you are connecting with this process, okay? That's something I'm really intrigued to listen to. I think the final piece here that I want to talk about is, where does this land in your natal chart? So where does the Pluto square land in your natal chart? So in the previous video, the new moon Taurus, somebody asked, am I standing, like, am I looking at Pluto in relation to my natal Pluto or the transiting Pluto? So what you want to do is you want to go and look at the house location that Pluto is transiting. So where is Aquarius in your astrology chart and where is Pluto? And you want to look at where Pluto is currently in the sky today on your natal chart. So for me, this Pluto is sitting in my 12th house. Okay, that's where it's sitting at the moment. And then you want to look at where the south node is and where the north node is. So where is Scorpio in your astrology chart? Where's that? Like I said, this is in my 10th house of my astrology chart. This is landing in my 4th house. And you can see why what I'm describing with you today is deeply aligned with that Taurian north node, 4th house dynamic, right? Let's get into the emotional body. Let's feel the way that we experience our chart, as opposed to kind of just being all in this ethereal spain over here, and like asking lots of questions and being complex in that sense. It's one of the ways that Sagittarius can be complex, is we're so out of touch with our body that we don't even know what our emotional reality and truth is about, in this sense. So this is a profound time to get connected with that and really realize and experience the richness of an astrology chart. Okay, so where does it land in your astrology chart? Let me know in the comment section how this experience has gone for you. I'm really curious to know that. And here is how you can take this initial phase of this Jupiter in Taurus. What's the framing that you can have? And as I said, watch this video over and over, stop at points, take some space to over distractions, and really come into the feeling of the chart. And I hope that this is giving you an opportunity to align with a sense of empowerment and let you process the square in a real and authentic way. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.